We're looking at the investment opportunities in financial services. Now, give us insight into that sector, the opportunities that are available for an average listener or viewers to take advantage of. Talk to us about these investment opportunities as far as that sector is concerned.
Okay, so fantastic. I would say that in the current Nigeria space today, I know a lot of people are worried about the investment, the kind of places they can put their money, places where their funds are stuck in the market. Some people are worried about the rate at which the dollar to naira exchange rate is running. But these are some things that would happen for a while before we gain some level of stability. But I'll tell you some opportunities we should start looking at in terms of investments for both individuals and corporate organizations. So the first thing I'll talk about is looking at the stock market. There are a couple of good stocks that are on the market now, and a few that are down the line that are going to look they're going to look up, especially in the consumer market. When you look at where consuming markets kind of and then there are people who are pulling out of the market, so that gives opportunity for other people. So for a GSK who has pulled out now in those medical sector, that means that for other competitors, their stock are going to have some good opportunity to play well. And then when we now talk about the real kind of investments, things like real estate, so things are not going to go cheaper. As an investor in that space, I was talking to some of my tenants recently. That was on Sunday. I had some meeting with some of, and I said to them, since my house is the cheapest in this space now, but if you look at when we made the investment to go into the real estate sectors and all of that, it was it wasn't looking so well. But there is something that is a fundamental demand for everybody, which is need for shelter, need for food, need for water. So those three things can guide you in terms of the kind of investment you want to consider. So the need for shelter, for food, and for water are primarily going to drive the kind of investment you want to consider in the real estate space, in the capital market. You want to consider that in terms of healthcare. That's one sector that didn't go down all through that period. And then watch out for at desperate moments like this when people see their money losing value. You want to be very careful in terms of the kind of bring 1 naira and get a 10 naira kind of investments that would start showing up 30%, 50%. Although I know SEC is doing a lot around that to clamp down on those people, and we also see what the financial regulators are also doing in terms of making sure we don't get those kind of people jump on us. But we want to be very careful this period not to invest in a hurry, because people will show up with all kind of things you can invest in. I think in the past weeks, I've seen people who showed up with things like that looks like multi-level and all those network marketing kind of things, telling people to bring in their capital and then they will get quick returns because in the history of deception, the history of money markets, it's when there is high time, when there is tight economy, that those things usually bloom. So you want to be very, very careful and watch with your two eyes when you're investing in most of those things. So I will tell you, capital markets don't. It's doing well now and it's looking up. And then the other one that we need to also put our mind now is the place of real estate, because the rate at which we are growing as a people and as a culture and as a country, your investment can never go down. You would want to take advantage of that.
All right. Are there other sectors that one can look at, maybe that doesn't require so much? Because for real estate, you need a lot to actually invest in that. Are there opportunities within financial services, apart from capital market, that one can actually invest in? I know that some banks have different saving options, even investment options, but some persons are concerned about the rate of return, rather the percentage that accrues to them at the end of the day. What are some of the safe and very lucrative options within financial services?
Okay, so I understand where they are coming from because I tried to do the deposit thing for a while, and they were giving us I think went to 1% or so, where you do the and it wasn't a good return for me. There are places I would say will be safe, but I'm on air and it's a bit difficult for me to tell you to invest in certain things. But I primarily just tell all the people around me because we do a lot of transactions in terms of dollarized system. I do digital marketing. I run a big agency. So 90% of our transactions are in dollars. So we know that if you keep your money as USD, you would never lose out. So usually I tell people try as much as possible to just keep it if you can. But you know, the system, this may not be so well for the system because people are now holding money in another form of currency as against the dollars. Now, the second thing you may also want to look at is buying some bonds, some government bonds, and some opportunities that will be in the market. That will give you some opportunities to make a good income there. You may also want to look at the treasure, when you look at those treasury bonds and the or other form of plays you can do. So that doesn't require so much capital investment. And then I tell you a quick story about an investment I started and I went into um, the fintech space. So a couple of years ago, just the friends, like 4 or 5 of us, came together because at the rate at which people were lending money from us and not paying back was quite interesting. So I just said to them that okay, if that's the case, can we set up something small like a cooperative, and from there with 250,000 each, we came together, we started doing some lending, and that same space had grown today and had become a microfinance bank without raising any capital from third party. All we were doing was that we're recycling the same investment, and then there are a lot of opportunity within that sector. So there are people who will tell you, especially for the microfinance and for some of the fintech spaces, where you can invest with them as low as 500,000, 100,000, and they are able to use your money for some transaction and get some opportunities back for you. And then there is a lot of opportunity also in terms of earning foreign exchange. If you have a product or a service, you're able to trade over the internet. You're able to get a lot of cash flow. If I start talking about that, I may move into employment and all of that. But the opportunity there is a lot of doors now because of the government policies that allows you take inflow, and that gives you a lot of cash. If you go on all these apps that allow you to do investments in Google, Tesla, note that in the next 5, 6, 7 years, in countries like the United States, Houston has said that by 2035, New York by 2030, all the cars on their roads will no longer be fossil. So that means that if you have any of these car stocks like Tesla and all of that that are big on the EV space, that electric vehicle space, if you invest now, you're going to get a good yield from it. During the pandemic, you would see that people who invested in those sectors really got a lot of return. So there are things that you can do on your day-to-day trading on some of these apps that allow you buy stocks, and you can get them done like immediately, and in a space of 4 weeks, 5 weeks, if you know how to project well, you get a lot of returns from it. So, but I don't specify too much because I don't know everybody that is listening. Everybody have different kind of judgment, but you can also consider investing in some sort of fintech app, some sort of fintech transaction, some sort of lending. I know the internal lending that some of these apps allow you to do, where you invest with them, you see your money, you see when they some do like a cooperative system, some do like a pool together and then they lend, and then they do peer-to-peer lending. So you can also consider that. So I see that in the market a lot when you go to especially to the regular traditional marketplace where they do a lot of peer-to-peer trading. And the concept behind the microfinance was built on the peer-to-peer trading. So if you're able to pull your friends together, you're able to do a lot of peer-to-peer trading, and you get returns maybe over 30 days or 60 days. that can also help a lot in terms of investment. So that's like the macro lending side of things.
All right. For those who want to, for someone who wants to invest in this sector, in financial services, talk to us. What are the basic skills or requirement or the knowledge expected for this person to be able to play viably in this sector?
Okay, for somebody who wants to invest in this sector, there are about two, three things I would say immediately. First, get a professional to advise you. When I mean a professional, you need somebody who's done it severally, who's in space, who understands the rules and the regulations. So, for example, when my friends and I came together and wanted to start lending to other people, we noticed that we're going to go against the government laws if we decide to just do the traditional thing, and then we could end up in jail. So, what we decided to do was to register first as a as a cooperative. So that now builds membership and all of that, because there's a lot of regulation around people's money and all of that. So first, understand, get an expert advice to advise you through some of the kind of market, how to buy, when to buy, how to put your money, how to retrieve your money, because many of them can show you the in routes, but they can't show you how your money is going to come out. Now, the second thing you want to consider is you need to be able to read a lot and watch a lot of videos that would help you understand that sector in terms of real-time news. So look at what has happened with the war between the in Israel and the Hamas and all of that. There've been a lot. This morning I was just reading about the oil prices and all of that, and the projections from Texas and all of that. So you want to keep your mind updated in terms of how engagement goes, in terms of how investment moves, in terms of how, okay, is my money moving from point A to point B? You want to read real time. So for the current world that is happening now, if you're investing in the global market, you will be looking at your money from another angle. But if there was no war, there are other considerations. So pre February this year, before the Russian Ukraine war, there were things that were working. So, but now it's totally changed. Another thing, knowledge you want to have is that note that you have control of your money. Your money shouldn't just disappear all of a sudden. Don't just give your money to somebody because the person says, I'm an expert. Or so you must also understand what the person is doing. It's like going to the hospital and the doctor writes some drug for you. You should be able to ask the doctor, what is the side effect? What are the things these drugs are going to do? So nobody should take your funds from you and say, we're going to invest for you and we'll pay you 10% after 10 days. You see, that's why people get into this trap of maybe they invest in Forex and all of that, and their monies get missing. So you want to be extremely careful. And when I mean extremely careful, you want to be very, very careful in terms of managing all of those attributes that come with the fund. So the last layer I would also talk about is also have a lot of legal document. If you're going to get a third party to invest for you, make sure they have their terms together, everybody have their papers together. You also know that, okay, if this happens, this is the consequences. Else you'll have people who invest in frivolities or things that are not meant to be there. So I would just say these are guiding laws for this. And then don't split your money into three spaces. There is the high yield, which is the high risk. High yield is coming with high risk. Then there are the ones who are moderate, and they also come with moderate risks. And then there are the ones who give you very low yield, but their risks are very, very low. They won't give you the yield maybe immediately. For example, I talked about real estate earlier. They are guaranteed, but the risk is low, but the yields may come slowly and may come over a period. But there are things you can invest in that will give you within 40 days, 50 days, 60 days, 180 days to get return. But they can be high risks. But also watch out for those high risk investments. So you want to be sure of things like if somebody promises you anything above 10%, you want to check that investment crazily, because even I think SEC or so, I don't know, I can't remember the figures, but I know you're not supposed to promise anybody above maybe 7.5 or something. So you want to have those basic fundamentals in your walkthrough.
There's some, though you've talked a bit about it, the duration for your investment. There are some investments that you would not really get anything until after a very long period of time. Are they smart investment options? And let's also look at the insurance sector, at the opportunities for investment in that sector.
Okay, so in the insurance sector, there's a lot of opportunities there, especially when you check out the high performing ones. I won't mention names of brand here. The high performing ones who have good policies and then also do a lot of good payout. And when I mean good payout, when people come for claims, they're able to respond to it promptly. And then there is a side where people also look at investing in the side of pensions and a couple of all those things. Because of the nature of our market here, insurance is not as a big deal as it is in some developed countries. So in countries like United States, where I have a lot of presence, we pay insurance on our homes, we pay insurance on our cars, we pay insurance on literally everything, and it's a big sector. So you'll see they are even heavy spenders if you come to the digital marketing space. In marketing, they are one of the biggest spenders. Google rates the insurance companies as the biggest spenders in the US. But when you come to Nigeria, as it were, we're still building trust. We're still trying to understand how it works. We are still we don't have that 100% trust in the system yet. So there is a lot of between the map dances that you can do there. Then for people who would like to become brokers with some of these people, what I would also advise is be able to put a lot of policies together, marry it, find something small that you can always sell, because that is one part where you can even decide to say that I want to become a broker under these guys and sell their policies to third parties, and then you keep getting money from it every year, every month. I know somebody who brought in a maritime deal for one of the big insurance company. Until today, is still making a lot of a percentage of the transaction. So you want to look at the brand you're buying their products. If you're going to invest in that space, you want to be very, very careful. And in terms of claim, check their history. Are they open to paying out claims? Because it's a very dangerous market to play in. Because okay, so I just got on a flight and I arrived here now. I saw that automatically they deducted some money for insurance. If something happens on the airline, are they on the flight? Are they willing to pay me the money they guaranteed because they took some money for insurance? Those are the kind of things you want to be sure you're dealing with. Same way you want to be sure of the person you're getting married to. Same, you want to be sure of the person you're getting in bed with your money, because your money is as important as your spouse.
Or for making long-term investments in this time, maybe investment that until the next 5 years, until the next 10 years, you do not begin to reap from it. Is it a smart move?
Okay, so I would say for me, it's one of the best moves you can make, because that's paying it forward. So largely the sector that handles that, largely that you would see that happen, is in the real estate sector. And if you're able to do that, it's like the quotes that was said about Bill Gates a couple of years ago, that he saw where the future was and went to build houses ahead of people. So if you can wait, if you have that staying power, I would rather you invest in things like real estate, invest in long-term stocks, because their yields are usually guaranteed and they are recurring. Like in the agri sector, those kind of things are very, very important. They give you the leverage. So if you invest in farms, cocoa, coffee, palm fronds, and all of that. I have a friend who just opened a mill, and he's been on it for 5 years. And now that he has started working on the mill, I can tell you he's recouped almost 50% of the investment just this year alone, of over 500 million. So you can see that those sectors, if you're able to wait, it gives you longer time returns. If you're investing in agri, in real estate, in some automobile and all of that, you want to be sure that over the period, over the next 5 years, over the next 6 years, over the next 10 years, these are going to be recurring revenue. I have someone I work with. We helped him design his investments about 13 years ago. He was going to exit the public service and in 10 years, and we started building and we started buying a particular shares and some sort of stuff for him ahead. Now he's retired. Every month he receives some sort of check in the mail, and it's fantastic for him because he's happy. He's getting just beyond his pension, he's getting some sort of income. So I usually advise that look at what your next 5-10 years goals are. You is it in education? You want to invest because education does not yield instantly too. So you want to look at the things you're investing in and see, are they going to be reoccurring? Are they guaranteed? Is the world still going to need these things in the next 5 years? Because anything that is just for the moment, if you invest in it, you're going to lose out in 5 years. So healthcare also have the long-term investment goals in it. So if you're investing in the healthcare sector, it's also not going to bring back immediate returns. But over the years, when people know the brand and they're able to say, "Oh, this is so well," they would, or you will also get a juicy return from it. So just think about some of those sectors that have the long-term return, and that's what I want people to take note of. Think about it and the relevance in the next 5 or 10 years, and see the factors it comes with.